Hi Aquarius, welcome to your Year of the Tiger 2022 reading. All right, we're getting started. We're getting started pretty fast here. So this year, we can say is defined by Jupiter being in Pisces. Don't worry about that. Focus here. So, what Jupiter in Pisces means for you, especially if you are an Aquarius rising, well, it means that money becomes a much more adult game and requires a much more adult mindset. It does mean that money is great, but only if you know what to do and how to do it. Okay, so this is one of those classic situations where someone is going to get exactly what they want, and if they can't manage it, it becomes the worst thing, the thing they would never want. So, let's get into it. That Knight of Swords, you're roaring to go. You have the ideas. Instinctually, I think you know it's a year of money and of expansion. So you're really with it, you know? You're already running the right pace. You're like, I see this wave coming. I'm going to ride this wave. I'm back in that saddle and I feel good, and I feel good at the pace that I'm running at, and you know, the things I want, they're much better defined now, and they're coming from a much more emotional place. The thing with that Nine of Cups, though, is that it can mean two things. It can mean this, you know, this need for emotional fulfillment. It can be someone who's gotten there, or it can be someone who really needs to get there and can't see that the cups they need to fill are behind them, where they can't get to them. So you have done, as the Six of Cups next door is telling us, you've done the work where you understand that your needs and wants have to be rooted in a place of feeling. Okay, so you're feeling really good about moving forward and making money, and you're very inspired. You have great ideas, and you know who you can make money with. You know the right people. You know how to connect with the people you don't know yet that you know you need. It's all going your way. So let's get into the first pitfall of what happens when you have this kind of network and you're accessing a network of people who may think very similarly to you. And that makes sense, especially if we're talking in terms of career and business, right? You're obviously going to be meeting with people, for the most part, who either require your services. So we're talking, you know, about something you're great at, or you're around people who also do what you do because you're learning from them and you're commiserating, you're networking, etc. Now, the drawback here is that it's really easy then to be stuck in an echo chamber and not even know it. Everyone has the same ideas. Everyone is looking for the same thing. Everyone has the same goals. But sometimes, if you're too selective, you can end up with people who have exactly the same ideas as you. And that is a pitfall of this year. It's easy to get so caught up in the community of what you're doing that you forget what you're actually doing. And you know that's a pitfall for you anyway. So, you know, just keep that in mind. It's not a huge deal, but it can really put a dent in your speed. You know, and it's about momentum now, isn't it? Like you've picked up speed. The Knight of Swords is telling us, like, I know how fast I have to run this year, and I am totally comfortable with it, and I can totally keep this pace up. In fact, I'm already running at that speed at the time of this reading, right? That's what the Knight of Swords is saying. So that's great. You know, so the reason we want to be mindful of that echo chamber is because it definitely does stop the momentum, and then you have to kind of restart yourself and get going again, and who wants to do that? Especially when you have a fixed nature and it's not the most comfortable thing to get up to those speeds anyway, you know? So really utilizing the energy of the transits right now and not allowing yourself to, perhaps the best way, let me put it this way, perhaps the best way to not get stuck in an echo chamber is to be vigilant about having a healthy cross section of people as friends and colleagues, and maybe even going out of your way a little bit to indulge other points of views or watching or reading about other points of views, so you have just enough, oppositional, right, energy coming in to keep you honest and keep you the most creative that you can be, and the most open-minded that you can be, because that is one of the pitfalls here that I can see, is that a year that's very directed towards material success and money and career goals, one of the things that can kind of fall to the wayside here is, the let's say the humanity of it. Which is ironic, because you only figured out what you want to do because you tapped into those feelings. So now you have to be careful not to lose that again because you get involved in this race, right? We want to always lead with our heart, even when the material world heats up and starts getting really, really good. And I think the Nine of Cups and the the Nine of Cups and the Six of Cups are telling you that as well, right? And then let's move forward here with the Sun. So you're kind of like the sun this year. You're very bright, you're very friendly, you're really out here, just brightening things up wherever you go. Even if you're not talking money, even if you're not really talking, your energy's kind of talking for you. You're bringing this kind of like positivity and optimism everywhere you go, because that's what you're filled with. You're having that experience within yourself, and so it's kind of radiating out of you. So even when you're not making it a point to be like that, it's happening. So that's great. Now, what you want to do with that is use it. Choose the people you want to be around, choose the people you want to work with, think very, very long term, right? Be very patient, because this kind of confidence does give you the ability to be super patient. Be super patient with your plans. Now, the Ace of Pentacles and the Seven of Pentacles next door are telling you that the more you strategize, the more you plan, the more long-term your business plan is, the better it's going to do, the more wealth is going to come in, and the more stable it's going to remain. So all your plans right now, all your business strategies should be long-term, and that only should be happening or even be thought about after you've developed a stable home base for yourself. So if right now you don't feel the most stable wherever you live or wherever you're staying, that should be your top priority, because once that's settled, then you'll be able to really focus on your creativity and really focus on bringing forth a business plan that takes the creative ideas that you're having and this kind of analytical, fixed air know-how, meshes it really well, and comes up with a long-term strategy that is very successful, God willing, right? But the first step really here is we have to address this Six of Cups Sun energy of, do you feel safe? Do you feel cared for? Do you feel stable where you are? Is it stable and safe enough for your mind to even wander into those creative areas? That's super, super important. So no matter how much you want to get going, Knight of Swords, no matter how fast you want to run, you really need to, first of all, get those cups filled behind you, make sure you feel okay, and then start to be daring and adventurous. Because once you start being daring and adventurous, things will work out in your favor, right? These transits this year, especially for you, is extremely successful. But lots of success, to quote the I Ching, is just as disruptive as lots of failure, right? If you can't manage it, it doesn't matter if the thing is good or bad. It's going to be bad for you if you can't manage it. If it makes you feel like everything is falling down around you, if it makes you feel like when you can't handle something, if it makes you feel like you're going all the way back to square one, then the Hanged Man here is telling you this is because of your beliefs about the situation. The thing that has you hung up right now is the way you are viewing the thing. And that's exactly what I'm saying, which is you need to find a way to view all this abundance, all these great ideas, all this creativity. You need to find a way to be able to filter it, to make sense of it, to process it, and be able to plan according to that long term. So you see now how that home base is really the most important thing for you for the whole year. Everything else flows smoothly out of you. You're capable, you have the energy, you have high spirits, you're not plagued by anything, thank God, right? So it's all great as long as you feel safe. So now let's really look at that idea of feeling safe. Let's look at that 10 of Swords. Let's not shy away from it, right? It's there. You know, I could feel the internal gasp when it came up. It's okay, but let's address it, right? So later this year, it's very possible that you will revisit some emotional trauma from your past. And I think it's really interesting that it comes up with the Six of Pentacles in reverse, because I think what it will show you when you revisit it is how it ended up perhaps warping a part of you that was developing at that time, and how you kind of absorbed that blow and how you integrated that trauma into your sense of self, perhaps into how much you're able to earn, how much you're worthy of saving, worthy of having, worthy of being, right? There's some deep trigger here that later in the year, we're talking like July, August, that really wants your attention. And so, yes, there is going to be these moments where you have to revisit this emotional turmoil and come to terms with wherever it is that Six of Pentacles happened to you. Wherever it is that your mind warped around that trauma and said, the way for me to keep myself safe from this is to develop such and such belief. And to be able to zero in on that belief, always something that has to do with a lack of worth, okay? And then you'll see, aha, this is the belief that has me hanging upside down. This is the belief that has me stuck. Because once you understand, right, there is no more powerful thing that can open a door in your mind. There's nothing more powerful, not a drug, not some behavior, not love from another person. There's nothing as powerful as understanding. So once you have this understanding and you know why you've been thinking this way, which then of course led to X, Y, and Z actions that you've taken in your life, things that you should have taken that you didn't, things that you shouldn't have taken that you did, things that you should have applied for that you never went for. When all of it makes sense to you, when that door of understanding is pushed open, it can't be closed again. Not when you're an intellectual Aquarian, right? So that's where we are. So is the Ten of Swords technically painful moments? Yeah, they're going to be technically painful because you're revisiting something that's technically painful. But being able to, that's another theme for you this year, being able to hold pain and deal with it and not run away from it and not indulge in escapism is going to bring you so much relief. It seems counterintuitive, but it's going to bring you so much relief, because what you'll realize is that when you hold pain, it also brings an understanding of where the roots of that pain are embedded and where its branches are extending into your mind, your programming, the way you think about yourself. And you're able then to kind of like find this pulsing, aching thing that's stretching throughout you and pull it out. Right? When you escape from it, what you're doing in the meantime, in the interim, while you've escaped, however you've done that in your mind, this thing is growing and taking over more and more of what you think about yourself and about others, you see? So it's really important when this trauma, this thing is triggered and comes back up, for you to take this opportunity to grab it, not escape from it, hold it, feel where all these different places in you that it's affecting you, here, let it light up, and then expunge it, get rid of it. Pull it out by the root, rid yourself of it, because once that understanding comes, you can do that. But that is not a process that will be open to you if you are not willing to stay and hold the pain and not run away from it. Okay, and run away from it. Then you won't get that experience, and that experience is really vital right now. I would say that most of your year, aside from making money and being successful at making money, really does center on this. This is kind of the central thing that you tackle this year, and you can see how everything about you ends up kind of spinning, right, around this thing, around this belief, around this wound. And it's so specific about like your ability to earn, your worthiness, what people thought of you, what they thought of you in relation to other people, how much they thought you would succeed or fail. There's a lot of pressure implied here as well. Social pressure from parents, neglect from parents, right? Which then makes us feel like we're being judged because we're not worthy enough, because if we were worthy, they wouldn't do this and they wouldn't treat us this way. There's a lot that gets triggered here, a lot. And it's so amazing how much of it you can be rid of if you don't run. So, towards the end of the year, you find a really great home solution. So even though you need the home solution all year and you're kind of desperately looking for it and working towards it, don't lose hope if it's not quite perfect, because by the summer, you'll inshallah find something that's amazing. And you'll know, and you'll be like, oh, thank God. Like, yes, I needed this. So just be patient. Just be super, super patient. The things that were not done properly, that's another thing here we can look at with the 10 of Swords and the 6 of Pentacles in reverse. Anything that wasn't quite done by the book, it's very, very possible that stuff will come out and need to be redone, undone, whatever it is. Anything like that that you've done that could come up, just fess up to it now and get it over with, so you don't get found out, if that makes sense. Because it won't be nearly as bad now if you on your own just say it. Okay? And then the most, like I said, with this parent thing, with the 10 of Swords, this really is the year where it's a year of money, okay, one, but it really is the year where you tackle and hopefully conquer these parental wounds. Obviously, some people's wounds are very, very deep. Others have, an unimaginable level of grief. There's a spectrum, right, of people and how they've been treated with their parents and how it's affected them. But regardless of where you are on that spectrum, the parental wounds are screaming for attention and care. And you've done a pretty good job of compartmentalizing them, escaping them in your mind, perhaps fixating on an external partner, perhaps someone you don't even really have any sort of relationship with anymore. The more unavailable, the better. Just as a way to offset this festering wound that's just there, right? It's easier to do any of the things I've mentioned. It's easier to do any of those than admit that there is some parental wound that's really not letting it ever be solid under your feet. parental wounds, it really is like having the rugs just pulled out from under you all the time. That's a general symptom. That anxiety is a general symptom of those parental wounds, because, and it only makes sense because as a child, when your parents start to exhibit, you know, abusive behavior, language, patterns, whatever it is, it does feel like the rug is being pulled out from under you, because they're your whole world. And they are they're tantamount to all the authority in the world, right? You equate them with the stability, safety, security of your home, of your being, of yourself. So when they start to wild out, it's very anxiety ridden, right? That situation becomes very anxiety ridden. The children become unable to trust, right? So if your parental wounds need healing, one of the things that you'll do if you're just not ready to deal with that is that you'll find someone who is emotionally unavailable and cannot be trusted. And you'll hand your feelings over to them. And you'll hand over a part of you that if they hurt that part of you, or if they drop it, it'll break and you will be severely, severely damaged. You knowingly hand that most sensitive, vulnerable part of yourself over to them, because then once they start exhibiting all the behavior that you actually know they're going to exhibit, and they start kind of throwing around this really fragile object, you once again start getting that, you know, that jolt of anxiety that you're used to from your childhood, which is at any moment the world could turn completely upside down and I have no control over it. That is the only thing that would prompt you as an adult to hand your feelings over to someone who is not reliable and not at all trustworthy enough to be given something as valuable as your feelings. You actually may find that you seek people like that out, because the thrill of that anxiety of almost being destroyed mirrors something so deep and so painful in your childhood that once you find that trigger, or once you find someone who can push that button for you, it's like even if you don't like it, you can't help pushing the button over and over again. You know what I mean? Like a drug. So, you know, it's really important to heal those wounds, and it's really important to not run anymore, because part of why that healing needs to happen is, you know, this year is showing you pretty directly that your woundings, they're messing with your ability to choose the right people to have in your life. Something that you hope and pray doesn't affect you at all anymore could be affecting you on a really, really important level, actually. Something as important as, you know, your ability to gauge who's good for you and who's not. It's pretty important, vital, right? So, yes, it's hard, you know, it's not going to be easy. But the payoff is huge. Once you realize all those things about yourself that we were just talking about, the freedom and confidence that descends over you is quite something. The freedom with which you can move forward and make all the money you want. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to watch. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. It's going to be productive. It's going to be financially satisfying for the first time in a long time. Inshallah, we love it. I love you. Happy 2022. I'll see you in the extended.